Hello and welcome to our summer webinar, Creating Student Connections for a Successful School Year. Just a reminder, this is a pre-recorded webinar co-sponsored by Sanford Harmony and Sanford Aspire. You can view it at any time and we encourage you to share it with your colleagues. We hope this series helps you kick off your inspirational school year. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker, Shalonda Saroyer, who is the International Teacher Award winner and president of Saroyer Educational Consulting.
Hello. I'm not sure if you all were here for part one. If you weren't, I would strongly encourage you to go back and take a look. I am super excited to be here today. Just a little bit about myself. I have, for the past 14 years, been working with Drs. Harry and Rosemary Wong, traveling the world, helping teachers become more effective. And so I wanted to just give you a little bit of background about me. I don't have a lot of time to talk to you about it, but I would love to. So you can email me at csaroyer@harrywong.com if you have any specific questions. But I just want to make sure you understand how excited I am to be here, because I have dedicated my entire life to helping teachers, and it's something that I'm super passionate about. So just in case you don't know who Harry and Rosemary Wong are, I'll take this time to introduce you to them. They are the authors of The First Days of School. That may be the version that many of you all are familiar with if you're like me and have been teaching for quite a while. That's the 4th edition of the book. It has a DVD of me and a presentation of lots of the things that I do in my classroom in the back. However, the 5th edition has just come out with an amazing DVD by William Martinez. He does a very inspirational sign presentation. And then there's the Classroom Management book, which is a culmination of Dr. Wong's work over many years. I am one of several contributing authors. And so if you happen to come across the book and have any questions, do not hesitate to let me know. So, all right, moving right along. Our second part, creating student connections for a successful school year. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, because the research that I presented in part one talked about how classroom management was the #1 characteristic of an effective teacher. Well, #2 was amazing lessons, which is no surprise to anyone. But #3, it was relationships, right? And so it was the importance of strong, healthy, positive relationships that we have with our students. Because you likely know by now that students are not really going to pay attention to what you're saying until they know that you really care about them and care about their situations and what they may be going on, what may be going on in their lives. And so you want to make sure that you create really strong connections to increase the likelihood that they actually will be able to learn from you. So let's get started. How do you do this, right? It sounds like theory. Okay, make strong connections with students. So I wanted to make sure that I provided you with some really hardcore line in the sand things for you to provide your students to make sure that you start off on the right foot. So let's start with some research. And you see the site at the bottom, effectiveteaching.com. That's Harry Wong's website. And this particular slide is from the book, The First Days of School. So Douglas Brooks did a study. He went in and out of classrooms for many years. And he came up with 7 questions that all students would like the answer to when they show up at your classroom on the first day of school. And so as I thought about the best way to communicate to you not only the importance of establishing strong relationships, but some clear-cut things that you can do to help them relax and to help them feel a part, this is what I decided to share with you. So let's get started with these 7 questions. The first question, according to the research, all students will want to know, am I in the right room? Sounds like a no-brainer, right? Well, not so much. So depending on what type of school you're teaching in. If you're in an elementary school, that's typically a big deal, right? The teacher's at the door and there are all these warm and fuzzy things on the door and you're greeting the students. In high school, oftentimes not so much. So make sure, high school teachers, that you have some great signage on your door. But even more important than that, most importantly, my suggestion is that you are standing at your door, not just on the first day of school, but every single day greeting your students. As you can see, the page number at the bottom, if it's orange, it'll correlate to the classroom management book. And if it's like teal, it correlates to the first days of school, just as a FYI for you all. But this is some research again from Alan. We met him in part 1, and he said that greeting students increases classroom engagement by 27%. That's without changing one thing that you're teaching, because the students see you there every single day interacting with them, and they understand that you're really excited to see them every day. I wanted to share this drawing with you because it was drawn by a student and submitted to the American Public Health Association. And, you know, it's very jarring, you know, to see these things written on the students, because this is his way of trying to communicate to teachers. Look, we have a lot going on. You know, as you can see, there's hungry, bad grades. The boy in the middle that's pointing has ACEs written on his arm. That means adverse childhood experiences. So what he's trying to communicate, you see homelessness and sad. These things do not drop off of them once they cross the threshold into your classroom. But look at the look on the teacher's face at the door. It seems like he's trying to communicate to us, we can kind of tell when you really don't want to be here. And then if you look into the classroom, you see there's a student drawing on the board, there's someone standing up by the desk, which goes back to part 1 about the importance of having a well-managed and a well-organized classroom where students know that they know exactly what to do as soon as they walk in the room and they're comfortable. So just, you know, you can pause this if you want to kind of take a closer look at that, but I wanted to make sure I shared that with you. It's so important that not only are you there, but you are excited and you communicate to your students that you are very excited to have them in your class and you're excited to see them, because we don't know what's going on at home. We don't know how often they get to experience that. So here's an example on a school level. This is Hall Middle School in Gwinnett County, Georgia. And I'm sharing this with you because I'm super proud of my children attended this school. And as you can see, there's a red carpet on the ground, right? Well, what in the world was that there for? What you don't see, because this particular day it was raining, the teachers are typically lined up on the outside on the first day of school, and they are cheering the students as they enter the school on the first day. And it is just such an exciting time for those students. So I wanted to take a picture of this so that you could see it was nothing expensive, right? Like this is something that you may even be able to get a store to donate, right? Just a random piece of carpet that they have, a red piece of carpet, but it's not enough for a whole room. So sometimes a scrap, they'll have it in like a scrap room. So that's an idea for you to welcome them on the first day of school as a school. But the teachers stood there and they were really excited, and there's music playing, and it was just a really wonderful way to welcome the students to school. And so I wanted to offer that to you. All right, the second question is, where am I supposed to sit? Oh my goodness, you know, it's my first day. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to sit? So I just wanted to share with you, there are lots of different ways to assign seats. I used index cards with colors and numbers that correlated to a color and a number on a desk, right? So you can assign seats so many different ways, but know that that's a research-based question, okay? So it's not just something I thought of. All students want to know where they're supposed to sit when they walk into the classroom. So I would strongly encourage you to have a way to communicate that to them. All right, the third question, research-based question. Who is this teacher as a person? This, you know, that's swirling through their heads, because I would show them a couple things about my family. Those are a picture of my kids. I have twins, or I have twins. That's my husband. I love technology. I was an English teacher, so, you know, we talked a little bit about that. And my family did not live in the state where I live, so I talked a little bit about, you know, where I'm from and those types of things. So students are really kind of interested to know who you are. And so while I want to encourage you to share, I also want to encourage you to not overshare. All right, and so we just always want to be mindful that we live in a society where social media gives a lot of information, but always just be aware, especially in middle school and high school, that you don't want to overshare. Sometimes the students are close in age if you're a new teacher, and I just want you to always be mindful of being friendly to students, but making sure that they really don't feel like you all are friends. There's a big difference between being friendly and being friends. And so keeping that line will help you stay out of some fuzzy situations. The fourth question, will this teacher treat me fairly? Obviously, the answer to this is yes. This one is really, you answer this on a daily basis. So your at-risk student, they're wondering like, okay, did she hear about me last year? Does she know, what I'm capable of? So you want to make sure that they know we are starting off fresh, right? I have high expectations for you. Some of them will be wondering, did the teacher from last year tell you about me? I had an issue with the teacher last year. Did she transfer my issue to you? So those are some of the questions that are kind of swirling through their heads. So you want to really make sure that you are building relationships with students, starting fresh, not holding grudges. Another thing that I would like to suggest is that you always take the time to pronounce their names correctly. In our last session, we talked about assigning seats, but I'd like to add to that. When you create your template, your seating template for the class, I always ask them, and I don't wait until I get to that name that I can't pronounce, but before I even say the first name, I'll say, will you please correct me if I mispronounce your name? And when they correct me, I will put the phonetic pronunciation of their name on the roster, on the seating chart, so that 5 minutes into class, I'm able to pronounce their name correctly. And unfortunately, you'll find that as they get older, they're so used to people mispronouncing their names, they'll say, well, it's okay, it doesn't matter. And so I want to encourage you to encourage your students to have the courage to ask people to pronounce their names correctly, because it absolutely is connected to their identity. All right, and so as we talk about that, it's the hierarchy of needs, right? It affects their esteem, it affects their feeling of belonging. So you want to make sure that we do that, because it really will affect their ability to learn in your classroom. All right, here's Bernie Alador. Bernie is a teacher, and he said he realized that he needed to make sure that his students knew they would get breakfast and lunch every day. And hey, they're kindergartners, so he had to let them know, calm down, I'm gonna make sure you get on the right bus at the end of the day, because they're little kids and all they're thinking about is all the big kids and the buses. And so he says, hey, don't worry, I got you. I'll make sure you get on the right bus at the end of the day. And so those are the two things that he learned from his students that he needed to share with them on the first day of school to make sure that they were calm and relaxed. And you can learn more about Bernie on teachers.net, May 2008. And I introduced that teachers.net resource in part 1, if you want to go back and watch that. The fifth question, they all want to know what they're going to be doing throughout the school year. So take this opportunity to communicate to them what lessons you'll be going over. Just kind of gives them an idea of what's going to be happening throughout the school year. That's a big one. Okay, how will I be graded? Doesn't matter if they're in kindergarten or 12th grade, all students deserve to know where their grade is coming from. So what I would like to suggest here, strongly suggest, is that we not use behavior to affect a student's grade, right? So we want to make sure that their grade is a pure reflection of their academic ability. So if you have a genius that drives you crazy, they should have an A+ in your class and a disciplinary record this long, but they should not have a C in your class because every time they did something, you took points off of their grade. And so with that, I'd like to also introduce you to another very well-respected researcher by the name of Tom Guskey, and he talks about compliance grade examples, right? So you want to make sure that you're not giving points for things that have absolutely nothing to do with their grade. You can ask for donations for things like extra supplies, but you want to stay away from actually giving extra points for those things. Tom says, regardless of their intention, compliance grading policies distort the meaning of grades and they need to be eliminated. So just something to think about there. And then the last one, they'll all want to know what the rules are in the classroom. So they're your 7 things that all students want to know on the first day. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Again, my email, csoroyer@harrywong.com, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for a wonderful webinar, Shalanda. And as she mentioned, there was a part 1. Please go take a look at that one. It's definitely worth watching. And this is part 2. We do have a part 3, building and maintaining strong parent connections. So stay tuned for that as well. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.